Hey, I'm Jason Truding. I play in percussion, and this is the Brooklyn Bound podcast. And any of you who have listened to one before know that on a Brooklyn Bound, we have usually 3 sets of music by cool folks. And we're starting back up on August 27th. And we definitely have 3 sets of music by, from what I can tell, cool folks, definitely cool bands. But I am meeting Secret Drum Band for the first time in this virtual space. And this is Lisa Schoenberg and Alan Wilson, and thank you guys for being here to chat.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. This one feels pro. This one started off feeling pro, where I feel like I said the thing, and then you guys said the thing that you're supposed to say, the thanks for having us. We're doing good so far. So as I told you guys before we started rolling, and anybody who's listened to this thing before knows, there's kind of like, we'll do the same 5 questions for everybody on the show. And the first one is just so broad, but I have a feeling actually with a little bit of conversation we've had before pushing record, this is going to be an interesting one because you all do many interesting things in your lives besides just play drums, I've gathered. But so what are the beginnings? What's the semi Cliff Notes version, hitting some fun things of when you discovered music, that moment that's led you into this moment?
Oh, like our personal, like our origins?
Yeah. We'll get to Secret Drum Band in a second, but yeah, what's your origin story, Alan?
Geez, wow, I didn't know I was gonna.
Yeah, exactly, right.
But no, that's interesting. I liked music when I was a kid a lot, and then yeah, I don't know. I just thinking back to being 6, 7, 8, I just was really into pop radio a lot. And when I got to be like 8 or 9, I really was into the saxophone. And I remember giving my parents and my grandfather a kind of persuasive speech about how they should let me play the saxophone in grade school band, because every song on the radio had a sax solo in it. And I thought it would be a good career move or something, that if I learned how to play saxophone, I could be one of those people.
So what, we're in the 80s? That's great. The sax solo in pop music. Where are we at? We're in the 80s.
Yeah. So we're smack dab early mid 80s. And that was my pitch. And they bought it, and they bought me a saxophone. So so that's how I started playing music in school. That's how I got into learning how to read music and all that stuff. Oh, go ahead.
No, it's great. We already talked about how this awkward talking over, but the 6 or 7 becoming music fan really resonates with me. I have 2 kids. I have a 7-year-old and a 9-year-old. I feel like it is just my goal in life to make sure we are listening to music that is interesting, so that anytime I'm in the car, I'm happy and not listening to so were you turned on to, getting into music? Was it your parents? Was it siblings? Was it just you turning the dial?
You still talking to me? Just
me? I am. Okay. Well, Lisa, I'm excited to get to Lisa's story.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It was just radio. I mean, it was just pop radio. What was big band? Just Michael Jackson. I guess there's not that's funny. There's not a lot of saxophone solos in Michael Jackson stuff. If any.
True.
God, I can't think of any. There are horn sections, but not sax solos.
That's true.
Prince, also no sax solos. Madonna, no sax solos. Whoa. Huey Lewis, that was
definitely sax solo.
There were sax solos there.
Yeah.
Springsteen, sax solos.
Yes.
Yeah. Just basically pop radio.
Careless Whisper, isn't that song like that?
What's that?
That one.
Careless Whisper, yeah.
Oh, right. Perfect example. Yeah. Wham.
Big sax. Wham. Oh man, I have older sisters, so I have a strong memory of being young and doing a lip sync with my brother and friends to Wham.
Cute.
Where they, scary maybe, but also fun.
Quality stuff.
So Lisa, how's your story? Did you discover music at a similar age?
Yeah, and actually, I don't know if I ever told you this, Alan, but it was a saxophone thing involved. Because I knew I wanted to play music, my love for music came from also turning the dial, but also my dad and my uncle were like they didn't know it, but they were like my DJs, my personal DJs. You know, they were so excited about it. My uncle played like big band jazz for me and classical music for all of us. You know, and my dad played a lot of classic rock and like music in the house, and it was put on vinyl and stuff. And so I knew I wanted to play music, and then it came time to audition for the school band, and I passed the little test, and then they said, what instrument do you want to play? And I really wanted to play saxophone because of Clarence Clemens, but they ran out of saxophones by the time it was my turn to pick my instrument. And there were only like 2 saxophones.
I have that same story. I have that story.
Really?
Well, I started on percussion and then I moved, and I thought, like, I was in 6th grade and I thought, oh, I already know how to play percussion. Let me play saxophone. And then they were out of saxophone, so I stayed on percussion, which I would have been a terrible sax player.
I'm the one out of three who got the sax.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so the teacher was just like, do you want to try the drums? Here's some drumsticks. And he played a rhythm, and I copied it. And I was like, oh my God, that's so much fun. Yeah, I want to do that.
Oh, cool. You're excited.
And he came to our show last. He came to our show last year, Alan. We played at the Museum of Natural History on Earth Day last
2 years ago.
I found him on Facebook, and yeah, Mr. Corin. He came.
That's right. Yeah.
But so then that led, like, so for you, you know, I was gathering when we were chatting beforehand. I mean, both of you all, so you studied music, but you studied other things too. I know now, Lisa, you're about to study kind of electronic music. But so how did drums, for you, you know, from that moment of discovering drums, what was your path on the drums?
Well, I knew I wanted to play for life. Like when I was young, I was like, this is like forever. And I always played in school bands and joined community bands. And I kind of had like I didn't bargain directly with my parents, but a musical director at the community band told my parents when I was like 10 or 11, like, you should get her a drum set because she's really good and you might be able to go to college for free if you get her a drum set. And my parents were like, all right. And they bought me the drum set. And I never got a scholarship, but so I played in school bands. I started my own bands with friends in high school, and then I started as a music major in college, but being like a New York City kid, experiencing the woods for the first time, like I quickly like changed to environmental studies and ecology and got like super immersed in that, and then had like these 2 parallel things going on in my life for like 10, 15 years until I went to grad school for environmental studies. And at that point, my focus within that was like conservation and insects. And I started like getting really into listening, especially going to the tropics and doing work in the tropics. I was like, holy shit, what are these sounds? And started experimenting with soundscape composition, and started thinking like there must be a way to like make this a thing. But it took me a lot of like experimenting and to like feel confident with it. And so that's kind of brought me to what I'm interested in doing today, like ecology-based music composition.
That's amazing. What was where, as a New York City kid who studied, where were you studying in the woods?
In Binghamton, New York.
Cool.
And I went to SUNY Binghamton. So we had like a nature preserve on campus that was really accessible. And I had this awesome professor, Dick Andrus, who just passed away actually. And he, for our assignment in class, would just sit in the woods for an hour at a time and do whatever, just sit there. So that was like, I'd never done that before.
Amazing teacher right there. Oh my goodness. Like, I feel like you could go, I'm sure his students went so many different places. The experience of sitting in the woods for an hour would be awesome and different for different people, I imagine.
Yeah, and now I think of him like, yeah, sit in the woods for an hour, of course. But at that point, I never like gone with that intention of doing that.
That's amazing. So you are about to, Lisa, you're about to go study electronic music. Mm-hmm. Is that what you said at RPI? And
oh, it's an electronic arts program. So it's like really interdisciplinary. So there's a lot of like science merging with art. So there's sound artists, there's visual, I think there's like movement artists in the program. Yeah.
That's amazing. And Alan, I was totally struck by one of the first things you said is that you're about to go to get your are you going to get your doctorate or master's program for?
No, it's a master's program. Yeah.
For, is it urban planning or city planning?
Yeah, it's like urban studies, regional, yeah, city planning. Yeah, it's a 2-year degree. Yeah, I'm excited to go. I've never really studied anything like it before. Yeah, and like we were talking about also, it's totally unrelated to my undergraduate, which was in linguistics.
Right.
Yeah, I'm excited to start. It's going to be all online. But yeah, I'm excited to see what grad school's like.
Yeah.
I'm kind of late. I got my doctorate, and I'm sorry, I got my my bachelor's when I was 40, I think. So I'm
Awesome.
I'm a late bloomer, and I'm 44. I'm about to start this grad program, and yeah, I'm just excited to see what it's like. Yeah.
Yeah, I could tell by the sax solos. I'm 43. I was feeling very kindred in terms of that moment of
Oh, right,
discovery of
really.
that. You know, it was like, yeah, just putting that together. Man, I think
Yeah.
it's awesome because I mean, some of what I feel like all of us, right, have these overlapping communities, right, and we overlap here, I guess, awesomely in Brooklyn Bound in this kind of experimental part of what So does and what you do. You know, some of what So does is talk to much more kind of like, you know, percussionists who have some path that, I mean, everybody's path is like this, but they're like study percussion in college thing. And I feel like just so often I'm talking to those students about like, man, so many of the interesting people that I make music with now don't have that story, you know, have much more stories like you guys' awesome story of like, I do this, I'm very musically inclined, but I have this crazy interest and now I'm doing this. And like, you know, it's like, it's really refreshing to hear that story. But so, I'm hoping I'm not going to start a band fight. But I want to ask about when the beginnings of the Secret Band project were. And I hear there's maybe some disputed dates in play here. But what's that? How did we get to this moment?
Secret Drum Band existed when I met Lisa, and it existed for years. So when did it?
Okay, so no argument there.
Yeah, I started, well, in SUNY Binghamton, when I was in school there, I was in a percussion ensemble that I loved. Like, this guy, Dan Fabricius, ran it. And ever since that experience, I always wanted to compose for percussion ensemble. So I lived in Olympia when I was getting my master's, and we were organizing a Lady Fest. And I said, I want to organize like a showcase of all female drummers. And I was like, and I'm going to do a thing. I'm going to do percussion ensemble. So I like got 4 friends together and wrote the songs. Like, it was literally like 2 minutes long, and I think we played it through twice, so that it was like 4 minutes
awesome.
long. And it was like my first experiment in doing that, and that was the beginning of Secret Drum Band. And then I didn't really touch it again for a while until I decided to do the soundscape composition thing and really pursue that. And so I wrote this 45-minute piece of like 3 movements called Mount Hood. And the Secret Drum Band just performed that, like, on occasion. Everyone said that we were really secret because we really literally didn't hardly play it at all. And Alan came into the mix then, and he became one of the members that played that piece. And I was not writing any new music; it was just that. And then we started. I'll give you like the full story. We started a side project. Andrea Zattel, she's an artist in Joshua Tree, a designer. She invited Secret Drum Band to do a residency, and I was like, let's not do Secret Drum Band, let's make something new. So we made this thing called Hits of Sunshine, and it was multimedia. There's a costume designer, filmmaker, dancers, and Alan and I were focused on the percussion composition together. So this is when we started writing music together. And the band was called Hits. And our friend Heather Treadway was involved in writing that music together. So Secret Drum Band was still playing the Mount Hood piece, and Hits made an entire album. And then at some point, fast forward, we have these 2 parallel things going on. I started doing some additional composition work for Secret Drum Band, having to do with my research in Hawaii. And we've got the desert thing, the Hits. And then they sat me down to breakfast one day, and they were like, dude, all 3 of us are playing in both of our percussion bands together. Can we just have one band?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, you guys are making so much sense. So at that point, we merged. Secret Drum Band was playing only stuff that I had written previously, and then we brought the hit stuff into our catalog, which is more like, a lot of it's more dance oriented and catchy than the stuff that I'd been writing previously. And so now Secret Drum Band,
based, electronic and sample based. But those are the kind of the big differences between the two styles that we were playing.
Yeah, it's more electronic. There's more samples. We have the SPDX involved, and a lot of affecting of field recordings and things like that going on. So that's where we're at now. And so now Alan and I co-direct the group and write the music.
Awesome.
Together.
And I was so happy to connect with you, Lisa, when you reached out and learned about this band, and I felt like, man, it's like sounds amazing. But I've been taking it in mostly just like listening to, so if Brooklyn Bound was happening in our studio and we were all showing up to see Secret Drum Band, what would we see? Like, what's the personnel and what's the live act?
Yeah.
Well, our last lineup was 5 of us, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there were 5 of us. We haven't played in over a year. It's been like 15 months or something like that since we played a show. It's just insane.
You gotta stay secret though. If you ever play too much, you gotta change the band name, maybe.
Yeah. But we're
so it's a flexible line. It's a flexible lineup in some way, like a project base, depending on who would be involved, would be depending on what the project is.
It is, yeah. Like we write notation, so as long as the players can read notation, we can kind of switch members in and out as we need to, as like people become available, or regionally, like one of our players right now is living in Massachusetts, so like if we needed to play, like if Lisa came back and we needed to play in Portland, we have people here who could jump in and read the notation and play.
Well, like checking out maybe both, even just in your email, kind of the cool things you list, but also just on your site, like how do I say this? Because I'm really interested in, like, notation really interests me, and I feel like as a musician, and so like I have the kind of conservatory training that's the kind of Western classical notation vibe, and all of us and so can do that pretty well. But then I feel like oftentimes when I write music, I'm actually trying to push against that and move into a different place with different styles of notation, something that's gonna open things up from the kind of claustrophobic feeling of a conservatory vibe or something. And I feel like when you listen to music, you can guess, right? Like, I don't know, maybe it's just me. You can be like, oh, this feels notated. Oh, this doesn't feel notated in terms of styles, right? And I was kind of struck, Lisa, like, I feel like on the site, it's really cool. I wouldn't have expected, listening to your tracks, it doesn't hit me as notated music, whatever that means. I know I'm talking in like weird, but then it's awesome. You're actually like very clear about, you can buy these pieces. You're very clear with the notation as being a part of the project, which I think is so cool.
Yeah, it's the notation. Actually, we've been like going with the making of this new album. Well, we decided to stop playing shows so that we could focus on finishing this album, and then we were going to go on tour, but of course, COVID. And one of our goals is also to get all the sheet music and make it available to people. But the sheet music itself like really evolves in all different ways, and a lot of the times it's according to who's reading it. Like we have band members who don't read music, and so like Sarah Lund, for instance, she's like an amazing player, the drummer from Unwound, and but she hadn't really read that much, and so like we like kind of wrote a different version of it for her that had more like verbal cues and stuff, and like really like it's just a thing to follow. And a lot of the times it's just so that the piece can, for me, I know personally, the notation helps me make sense of it, because it would be like just like really kind of crazy to just have to reference the recording over and over again and be like, well, no, wait, you wait 4 measures. Oh no, wait, you're on the upbeat. Like, and so I'm like, it says it right there, do that thing. And even with that, of course, sometimes there's mistakes along the way. So it's a really useful thing. And then of course, for bringing in new players, it makes it really easier. But sometimes for a bunch of our songs, especially the ones we wrote with Heather, Treadway, we didn't have any notation at first, and the notation came later.
So does notation, I may have jumped in my head when you said notation, I thought kind of classical, Western classical notation, but notation almost meaning like these tracks are recreatable each time in this way, not kind of flexible and improvised. They're recreatable through many kinds of notation based on who.
We're formalizing it all with classical Western notation now, but I'm just saying like in the process of playing it, sometimes like it's takes on more rudimentary forms at first, or not even rudimentary, but more like effective forms in the moment for the people who might be reading it. Totally. So, like I know Anthony, I give him the notation and then he writes it all over with a big black Sharpie and changes it, draws all these pictures and stuff. So,
love that.
Yeah. And, but yeah, some of our songs weren't notated and then the notation came after. So they were written by ear. We have 2 that we haven't even notated yet.
Yeah.
On the new
or it'll be like a lot of the parts will be notated because other people need to play them, but me and Lisa's parts are not, like, because we just know the parts. So then when we've had to go back and like, wow, oh, that's what it looks like, what I've been playing for 8 years. Like,
well, I kind of love that. I love thinking of, I don't know, you touched on, I love this topic. I really, really love this topic of notation because to me, it just feels like, I love the way you're talking about it. It feels just fundamentally, it's like communicating something. It's like I'm communicating an idea to somebody else. And when we communicate differently with different people based on how intimate we are with them or how much we know them or if we speak the same language or any of those things, right? So I love the idea that you're just like, I'm figuring out a way to communicate this idea to everybody in the band in the most effective way.
Yeah. And it's been kind of a cool process too with Lisa. Like maybe for one song, I will do like the kind of the bulk of it, of the parts, and then I send it to her and she's like, oh, you missed this little touch that I intended for this part. I was like, oh, I didn't even hear that. So then she'll do some stuff,
right?
And I'll take it back and I'll massage it a little more, and then it goes back and forth, which is basically how we write songs too.
Yeah.
So
well, maybe that leads really cool to a next question, but to jump off that, like, so what are we going to hear on your Brooklyn Bound set? And I'm just really curious. I would love to know more about the collaborative. I love making things collaboratively with other people in my group or people, new collaborations, but co-composing is wonderful and tricky, right? It's like, so I would love to know about what we're going to hear on the show, but also how it was made or how your relationship worked in that.
Yeah. All 3 songs are of a different story.
Awesome.
So we're going to hear 3 songs in the Brooklyn Bound series, and we do a little commentary in between them with the guy who runs our record label, Moonglyph. Yeah. And the 3 songs we chose are the 3 that we've had videos made for, and one of them is going to premiere at the Brooklyn Bound event.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you should.
That's great.
You should. Yeah. But the first videos for the song Cayena Point, and this one had a really interesting evolution, and I think I'm really glad we had as much patience with the development as the song as we did. It's cool at any one point in time, like right now, if I open my files, we probably have 10 songs we could start working on. And this is one that was just kind of lingering. I'd written the initial parts as part of my Hawaii research, and then I'd given it to Alan at some point, and he dabbled in it, and then it kind of sat around for a while, and then eventually we came back to it, I think. Yeah, it took years. But.
Yeah, what was it, 2017? When were you at Andrews? Or 2018?
2018. But originally, I wrote the beginning parts of it in 2013 or 14. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So it's, and so that's when we literally tossed it back and forth, using Ableton. We work in Ableton Live.
But I remember it was really late one night, and you were working on the Andrews stuff, and I was just sitting there messing around with Cayena, and I had a breakthrough that night, in your little apartment.
Yeah, I was at a residency.
It really took a turn, and it started to it took the kind of this basic form that it's in right now. I mean, it's a lot happened to it after that, but that's kind of when it coalesced into the rough form that it's in right now.
Yeah. And
so
then there was passing back and forth after that.
Right. Yeah.
Wait, what's the track called? You said it's
Cayena Point.
Cayena Point. Awesome. So is that the first track in this set, or that's one of them?
It's the first track.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah. And that one is kind of was a beast to notate and also work out with the band.
Oh God, that's right, because of those little breaks that are in there.
Mm-hmm.
Those sped up breaks that are layered. Yeah. That one was hard to notate.
This was one where, and I think some of the songs we've written with Heather Treadway came about through performance, through playing, through jamming, through recording stuff and then arranging it. Whereas Cayena Point was like field recordings they heard and little parts that I wrote out in the field, and then Alan's interpretations of those, and it's all happening in the computer. And then the actual playing of it happened later, and we sat down to play it. We're like, wow, it was a really good time.
Yeah, we all had to learn it. Yeah, we didn't.
We all had to. So that was kind of yeah. And so that's Kana Point, and our friends in Los Angeles made that video.
Oh yeah, Melissa and Carver did that. They did the video for that, and they're like video production artists, and yeah, the video's really cool. It's a lot of affected footage of Hawaii, but specifically Kana Point. Yeah, I guess obviously you could talk more about. I don't know if you want to talk more about it.
Did I get into that? No?
But yeah, I don't know exactly. Yeah, I don't know where you sourced the footage from, but.
Oh, they sourced a lot of it just like public access footage on the web, and about half of it was from stuff that I sent to them that I shot there. It's like phone pictures. But yeah, it's a protected place on Oahu that has been one of the most important habitats for the native Hylaeus bees that we were doing a creative documentation of. So yeah, cool. And then so the second song is called Multi-Species Ants. And it's from this field work that I've been doing with some collaborators, some scientists and artists in Brazil for the last 3 years. And so it features sounds of ants. And then this woman, Blair Stapp, made the video.
What sounds do ants make? What are we talking, like?
The craziest sounds.
Yeah, wow. So let me just imagine it. Where is it? Is there a big microphone? Is there a tiny contact microphone? How are these sounds? Yeah.
Usually a contact microphone.
Wow.
Or I have an ultrasonic microphone we use. But the main sound that's in this song is from stridulation, which kind of sounds like kind of like that.
Wow.
But it's like it's like in Brazil where we did this work, it's really easy to just explain it as like a heiko, like, you know.
Okay, yeah.
Everyone knows that instrument there, like where it's a bridge surface and a scraper against it. That's pretty much like the instrument that the ants.
Is that the spring one? Is that the?
Yeah, it's a spring, and then they move.
Yeah.
Yeah. So cool. The ants have a heiko on their body, basically.
Wow.
And they make it like that, and then there's sounds of like ants just walking over metal connected contact mics to, and ants attacking microphones. That's part of a project related to Secret Drum Band called ADA, Amplifying the Tropical Ants. And so, yeah, so that's that song. You have anything to say about that one, Alan?
We talk about it in the video. I don't want to give anything away, any juicy bits away, but yeah. That one, you totally wrote that one. I guess we talk a little bit in the video about how, the compositionally, how that was like pretty unchanged. Like it didn't change very much from the time it was introduced to the final product, which I thought was really interesting because usually our songs don't go that way.
Right. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
And it has different overlapping time signatures in the song. So sometimes, because I based the drum parts on amp loops that I made without consideration for any time signature. And
we have like 3 on 4 a lot of the time.
Yeah, so it ended up having like a lot of interesting overlaps and stuff. Yeah.
Very cool. And then the third track. That's the second track.
Oh, and that's premiering. Yeah. This is Antifa Fuchsia.
Yeah.
Right. I was just listening to that this morning because I think when you go to that's the first track on the album, right?
It's the first track on the album.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So tell me about that one. I know, I can picture I know what that one sounds like off the top. I'm terrible with song titles, but I remember that one. Yeah.
That one comes out punching you in the face.
Yeah. Great way. It woke me up this morning.
Yeah.
Like, hello.
Yeah.
I'm excited when we can play live again because we set up 2 drum sets facing each other in the front. And then there's 2 stand-up drummers in the back, so we're kind of making a square. And then our ambient players off to the side. And so I'm excited to like nail this beat together with the 2 drum sets. Just
we've never played this song live. Like most of the songs on the record, we played all except the 2 color ones, right?
The 2 Antifa songs.
The 2 Antifa songs. Yeah, we've never played those. We'll have to learn those.
Yeah.
I'm excited to play that one too. I'm excited to play both of those. Yeah.
And is Antifa anti-fascist Antifa, or is Antifa Awesome.
Yeah.
So what was you guys are in Portland.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're in Portland.
We're going to lead to the next question, maybe a little bit just about the heaviness of this time, or the, I don't know, the way I've been thinking about it a little bit is I think I've told you I on this call, I have a couple kids, and this is the first time I've ever, usually I think something that they're going through, I've been through on some level, right? Like, or they're, and I feel like in this moment with COVID, none of us have been through this. Nobody living has been through this, but to just to then, you know, add to that this Black Lives Matter moment, within this moment of complete isolation, I feel like it's just conversations in my house or with anybody, you know, it's just like this complete unknown moment, and how we're all dealing with it, whether as artists or just psychologically or just in our lives as whatever it is. I was gonna say as activists or whatever that is. So Antifa, for you, was this song new or old, or in relationship to this moment, or just in relationship to a longer movement?
Well, we started writing it, or you jammed it out, like, was it 2018? Yeah, it was 2018.
I thought it was more recent.
No, 2019. Sorry, it was 2019.
Because there was this part, well, actually today, this very day, Saturday, August 19th, 20th, there's actually like a bunch of right-wing groups converging in downtown Portland that today. And
today, like right now.
Today's Saturday, right?
Oh, it's tomorrow.
Oh, tomorrow's Saturday, but still, I didn't know if you were talking about but still, I didn't know if you were talking about like a moment that this happened, but no, you're talking about like right now.
No, I mean like, yeah, and there's been this ongoing presence of like right-wing groups showing up in Portland and rallying, and then counter-protesters, of which we have been part of, showing up in opposition to them. And, you know, Antifa, which is not, you can't join Antifa. All Antifa really means is that you're anti-fascist. We're anti-fascist, and we've been part of like supporting this, and these songs. So we wanted to write new songs for that album, and we wanted to do it with Heather, who hadn't been writing with us in a little bit. We wanted to bring her into the mix again, and so we had this plan to just show up at the studio, jam, record it all, and then give it to Alan, let him do like a preliminary arrangement and see where it goes from there. And it turns out there was these protests downtown that day, just like there's going to be tomorrow. And we decided we wanted to stick with our plans to jam, that we were feeling like more like the jam than going and protesting. But we wanted to connect it to that somehow. So we made like a hashtag anti-fascist drumming and did a live feed on Instagram. Only a couple people joined, but by doing that, we kind of like, our drumming in that session was like a couple hours, 2 hours long, was all like kind of filtered through this feeling of standing up for social justice, standing up for oppressed communities, standing up against fascism. And so that was kind of like running through our heads and our muscles while we were playing this stuff. And so that's where those songs came from. That's where
very cool. I have some friends. So I lived in Brooklyn for a while, and as you can maybe see by the trees behind me, I don't live there anymore. I haven't lived there in 6 years, but So Studio is there, and some friends of mine who've been part of the protest community in New York, which is very different than the protest community in Princeton, have been doing some drumming kind of in solidarity, specifically in solidarity with Portland protesters.
Oh, wow.
When you said that hashtag, to me, if I was waiting for the punchline of being like, wait a minute, this caught on, because it's very much from what I've seen about the movement in New York, at least in solidarity with Portland, has been mostly bikers, cyclists, bicyclists, playing percussion, kind of, handheld percussion, specifically, I think, in solidarity. I didn't know if that was connected at all, but it made me think of a similar kind of feeling and vibe.
That's cool. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. Maybe, or maybe it is in specific relation. You just don't know how powerful that hashtag was, because I don't understand.
I mean, we only did it for 2 hours. Someone else picks it up. And this was before this was pre-COVID.
Right.
this was just like, there's been this ongoing like face-offs in Portland for a while.
Yeah, this is the one tomorrow is the first one I've heard of in a while. I mean, they've been showing up at protests, but yeah, I didn't know that there was an organized thing tomorrow. But yeah, like I think what a lot of people don't understand about Portland is that like we are like an island in like a big Red Sea, and so because of how because of our reputation and because of how progressive and like liberal this city is, even though it's the whitest city in America, which I think everyone knows at this point. But yeah, we tend to attract a lot of the red element. Like people like to come and like fuck with the libs, and that like Portland is the place to do that. So we've been like kind of a focus of, I mean, obviously now there's the whole thing that I don't know, we're in the day 80 or something like that of protests, and then the feds were here and all that stuff. But yeah, there's always this kind of lingering element of like authoritarians and far right wing people and fascists, like outward fascists, like they don't even hide it.
Well, I feel like
just like wreaking havoc and terrorizing different, you know, marginalized people and
well,
stuff.
in some ways it feels like maybe that story of Portland is an amplified version of just that story. And like I grew up in California, and I feel, you know, this general feeling of California as progressive place, but you're really just talking about cities, and like urban versus rural is really what the conversation is. Or New York, you know.
Yeah, and it's like it's a lot of it is red. I mean, like probably geographically most of California is red, but yeah, there's these huge cities in California that are like very not red. So,
little same island kind of thing.
Yeah.
And Lisa, I don't know how you're getting up to Troy when you go to school or whatever, but it's the same story I know from working upstate. You know, it's like you think of New York as a liberal, it's all feels like it's island. It's a different kind of island culture. Like this country is islands in that way. I wonder one thing, just thinking about, you know, the COVID side of this moment. I've been struck by some people in our scene. I feel like I like to think of ourselves, I don't know if this is true, but, you know, being connected to different kind of scenes. But one of them is very kind of contemporary classical music. And that idea of making music in this remote way is so foreign. It's so much about being in the room together, you know. But another way that, you know, so many people are comfortable making music feels like, and people are having to make music that way now, is this more remote collaboration, which feels like a little bit about what you were talking about, you know, sending Ableton files, you know, from you to Alan and from Alan to Heather, and working in that remote way. In some ways, it feels like you all are set up to continue to be creative, even in this wild moment
I hope so.
of remoteness, you know?
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, we're both entering grad programs, so we'll see how much time we actually have.
Yeah.
But Lisa's grad program lends itself to, like I know that she's going to be continue to be creative just as a function of her studies, and I mean, I'm sure she would anyway, but yeah, Lisa, I'm counting on you to throw me stuff.
Oh yeah, I'm just meeting you, but I feel your creativity coming through the screen, so I don't have a fear for you either.
Sometimes I just need a kick in the ass, and that's like, I guess that's what I'm.
I do too. Sometimes you're like, hey, send me the file back.
Yeah. But, deadlines, right?
Yeah, and I'm really excited. And actually, an idea that Alan mentioned, and I hope it's okay that I'm saying this, but I went downtown and made some recordings of protests a couple of weeks ago, and I got some really cool like vibrational sounds. Put a microphone in the ground and like did some shotgun recording.
Wait, before you left?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, cool. Okay.
I put the geophone in the soil in the park, and then the whole.
Oh, right. Oh, when I saw you. Was it when I saw you, or like around that week?
No, it was like a week after that.
Okay.
It was before. It was like right when the protest was starting. We showed up. There's this park where everyone's gathering. People are giving out food, and then the crowd, like the protest march, came from the waterfront, and like they were approaching, and I was recording it. So, anyways, I have this cool recording, and Alan was like, "We should make music based on and inspired by what's going on in Portland." We made the Antifa pieces, but to continue in that, like thinking about sound and the urban environment in relation to what's going on right now.
Yeah, because like most of the stuff that's based on ecology is like wild ecology, and I'm like, well, the city's an ecological system too.
Yeah, totally. Well, I was gonna say, it feels like you're set up to do that already with your work. The ant vibe that you were talking about, it seems like yeah, what would it be like to plug in a different kind of organism to that same idea, right? Which is basically what you're talking about with humans at a protest zone, right? Just a different sound sources. That sounds super cool. I've been trying to end these discussions, these podcasts idea, coming off of question 4, which is a bit, you know, heavy and like, you know, what this like COVID zone that we're in, thinking about this may be nostalgic and silly question, but like having not been able to play music for people, I feel like So is thinking about a little bit nostalgically about all these fun experiences we had in the past, you know, like what are these like memorable concert experiences that like are binding for us, you know, and for So oftentimes it comes into these like, I kind of wish it was these like real crazy awesome experiences. Oftentimes we remember the like the shitty things, you know, the silly things, or the like weird places we performed, or the shit that went wrong on stage or whatever. But I would love to hear, and this can be totally you know, near history or far back history of Secret Drum Band, but do you have any kind of real, these like memorable concert experiences that come up for you all as a band or individually?
As a band.
To be honest, the thing that just came to my mind is this one time we were playing the desert shows in Andrea's Hotels Land, and they were outdoors. This one we had a extension cord plugged into a building, and one of them was completely unamplified.
Oh, so our first show, Hits' first show.
The first one, Hits' first show ever, and like a couple of funny things happened. Well, one, we were using Ableton live in the set, and we accidentally left a loop on, and this is the first time we're playing the song publicly. The song we just wrote, so we get stuck in the loop. Started over, and I don't know if this happened in the same song or the next song, but we had one egg shake, and I needed to hand it off to Heather, and I threw it at her, and she didn't realize, and it hit her like square in the head in the middle of the song. Oh
no. Okay, good. You're speaking my language, Lisa. These are my memories. This I go to these kind of memories too. That feels very memorable. The shit that went terribly wrong.
Yeah. I think like on the other side of the spectrum, well, not the other side, just a different side of the spectrum. Our last tour that we did through the Northeast, I think this is just a show that was really special to me, and I also think it was probably the show that we played the best, and that was the show at Bennington. Do you remember that show?
I love that show.
With Michael Wemberly, the percussionist Michael Wemberly brought us to, he hosted us at Bennington, awesome. Which coincidentally is also the school that my daughter goes to right now.
Amazing.
Yeah, and so it was just really sweet. Like Michael was so welcoming and just an amazing host. And then my daughter came and brought all her friends. So we just played this little cafe for like maybe 20 people or something. But it was really, I thought we killed it that night. And it was just like,
it was such good vibes. Yeah.
Super, yeah, it was just really special night. And yeah, it was just rad to go across the country and be able to like kill it in front of my daughter and all her friends.
Oh, Alan, I love that so much, man.
It was so nice.
I'm a few years behind. Well, I mean, my daughters will get to be that age. I'm imagining that moment for myself. That's so great. That's really wonderful. But I also love, I mean, I feel so much about music making. Like, I love that there were 20 people. Like, I'm sure you could tell the story of the most people you ever played for, or the coolest people, whatever, the heaviest. But it feels like that never captures the coolest experiences, you know, like those 20 people in that space. It feels like that's what I'm missing about this moment is the Brooklyn Bound has the ability to be that. It's like, you know, 40 people crammed in a small studio. Probably they know one band on the night, but not the other two, and get really excited about that. So I'm psyched to have that experience in some way virtually on August 27th. I know. So I had thought at one point these shows were at 8 o'clock, but they're not. Apparently, it's at 7 o'clock. So that's 4 for you, Alan. Make sure you're around. Because I've.
What day of the week is that?
What's that? What's that?
What day of the week is it?
I actually have no idea. I can find out so quickly though. But today's the 21st. So what does that mean?
It's Thursday.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah, cool. I don't work that day. That's okay.
Just because one of the nice things about these, I mean, you'll be talking to the audience anyway in your conversation with your record label person. Yeah. But I found actually I wouldn't have expected this, but anytime we've hosted these moments, the idea that everybody's gathering on the chat and actually experiencing music together is also something that I just feel like is so foreign right now, of having a shared experience. So the idea that you all will be there and folks will be checking out what you're doing in real time is just for me, it's a really nice thing. So I'm really pumped that you guys have these videos for us to check out, and that you took the time right now to chat with me. It's a super pleasure to meet you all. And we should make sure, I love the idea that this album can be bought, not only the audio to listen to, but the notation to play. So all these cool percussionists out there.
But we can do that, right, Lisa?
Finish it by August 27th.
Mm-hmm.
No, well, okay. How about this?
Putting them out one at a time.
There you go.
Yeah.
But I also want to say that, like I think I mentioned earlier, it's going to be the premiere of Antifa Fuchsia, and our friend Julia Calabrese made that video. I'm really excited for
awesome.
Yeah.
In the desert, actually, in the
desert in Joshua Tree.
Yeah.
Oh, amazing. Yeah. Coming back to those early
there, which is kind of nice too. Yeah.
It's like you planned a wonderful way to wrap up this conversation, Lisa. Thank you. You saw us from the first hit show back to the premiere.
Right. Full circle, yeah.
Okay, well, maybe if the scores for this album aren't exactly ready yet, when they are, promise you'll let me know, because I would love to get the word out about that. It feels so cool. Really pumped about that. Well, nice to meet you, Alan. Nice to meet you in virtual space as well, yes. Lisa. And we'll see you soon.
See you soon.
Bye.
All right, take it easy. Bye.